Now, a really simple video for you today. I'm going to show you how to connect studio monitor speakers, powered studio monitor speakers like these that I've got here in my home studio, to your computer or your laptop without having to use one of these, an audio interface or something similar to do so. And I'm going to show you a really simple technique just using one cable, this one. I'll show you what type of cable it is, how you do it, and what kind of cable you need to order in this short video. If you like this video and you want to see other similar ones or a variety of things to do with recording music at home, then please like and subscribe for much more. Now, first of all, the type of cable you're going to want to use is one of these, and it has at one end just your standard 3.5mm headphone type input there that you'll be very used to seeing. So that will plug directly into our computer or laptop. Here you can see my MacBook. So on here you've obviously got a headphone socket like this. That goes in there like that. So that splits off into a Y shape. It's often referred to as a Y type cable. And at the other end there'll be two inputs which can go. So you've got the stereo at that end, and these are two mono inputs at this end which will go into your speakers. So you've got a white one there which will go into the left hand speaker, so white, or it could be black sometimes, that will go into the left hand speaker. And then the other end of the one, you have a red one which will go into the right hand speaker, right for red. So it's as simple as that. Plug those in now and we'll see if it works. So I'm over here now at the back of my monitor speaker. So this is the right hand one, so it's right hand as I'm looking at it. So the red will go into so you can see I've got two different types of input here. There's an XLR type input, and then there's a 1/4 inch jack type input, which is the one I'll be using with the cable I'll be putting in the description below. You could use an XLR as well. Some people find them a bit more secure, but this will work perfectly fine. So that goes in there. And then exactly the same on this left hand speaker with the white cable going in there. So then, if it's that easy, why would you want to spend money on one of these, an audio interface? Why is it still worth it? Well, I'm going to fight this guy's corner a little bit now to justify why I think it's still definitely worth it, even though that method I showed you just now was so easy. So there's a few reasons. The first one is the fact that the sound card that's built into this is built for the purpose of audio production. It's high quality, even though there is a sound card in your laptop or computer. That's what allows you to do that technique that I showed before. But the difference is that the sound card within an audio interface is dedicated to that purpose. So what a sound card does is it takes a digital signal from a series of ones and zeros, basically, from a laptop or any other device, and converts that back to an audio signal. And the ones that are in audio interfaces are much better at doing that, and they'll do it at a much higher quality than the one in a laptop, which is built to be a jack of all trades. It's meant for streaming games, streaming YouTube videos like this one, and many other things besides. So although they are getting better in quality, it can't really replicate what you get in a dedicated audio interface. The second reason why is the drivers in there. So you're much less likely to get things like latency and lag because the dedicated drivers that are in an audio interface, whereas although laptops and computers are getting a lot better and a lot faster, and you can download additional drivers such as ASIO, which is a special driver which will help with problems like latency, laptops and computers can still have sub-quality drivers compared to what you get in an audio interface. So therefore you may experience problems with like latency, which is, if you don't know what it is a gap, a small gap, maybe milliseconds, a matter of milliseconds between when you play something and when you actually hear it, and that can be a real issue when you're trying to play along to a track or trying to record something. So something that if you've experienced it, you'll know it's a nightmare and you want to try and avoid. And then finally, the third reason why I think an audio interface is still well worth it for connecting to studio monitors is the fact that you can use balanced, so you've got two balanced outputs. So you can connect with two separate cables to each speaker. And that is a subtle difference, but it's a big difference, because the method I showed earlier with the single cable plugging into your headphone jack, that is a stereo input, 3.5mm input, but it splits off into two mono inputs, and therefore that means that those two mono inputs that you put into your speakers are unbalanced, and that's just the way that it works. Because you've got one output and not two separate outputs, you can't have an unbalanced cable. And this is because the way unbalanced cables work, I won't go into it too much and bore you, but basically instead of in an unbalanced cable, you have just a simple signal wire and a ground wire, and that means that it's very susceptible to picking up interference from other electrical equipment in your studio. So as you can imagine, there's plenty of electrical equipment all around me here. There's plugs, there's wall sockets, there's lights that give off this electrical hum, just electrical interference that gets picked up by that cable, and you'll hear this coming out of the speakers as this annoying, like, buzzing, humming sound that you may know from an amp, for example, when you left your guitar plugged in, that annoying noise. So if you want to avoid that, the way to do it is with a balanced cable, and a balanced cable gets around this with a very clever trick. It has another extra signal wire within the cable, which is wrapped around the first signal wire, so you've got a hot and a cold. And what it does is it produces the same sound wave, but the inversion of the former signal. So you've got two waveforms, but the complete opposites of one another. And because those two wires are wrapped around each other, any interference that comes in will be picked up by the wires at the same point, pretty much identically. And so those little spikes of interference, if you imagine a waveform like a sine wave, these little sort of jagged bits coming off it, they'll be equally mirrored on both wires and therefore cancelled out. So you won't hear that annoying humming and buzzing coming through the speakers. So there's a little bit of boring science for you about balanced cables, but an audio interface will give you that. It'll have two separate outputs which you can plug your speakers into and give you the option of using balanced cables. So yeah, a little shout out to the audio interface there. Essential part of any home studio setup, really. They're really cheap these days, under $200, even some really good ones available for under $100 now, especially if you're looking at second-hand things and stuff. So definitely worth getting. But if you want to stick to that first method that I showed you earlier, if you just want to quickly listen to some music, then you know how to do it now. You've got options.